Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of our Raw Reaction series, and specifically the Arsenal News Show. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing well. It is match days eve, as we like to describe it over here on TGT. We play Leicester tomorrow, which means, of course, we'll be doing a preview show for that game this evening. You can join me at 5 o'clock with three of our members from the Discord server, including another debutant. Very excited to get more new faces onto the channel. You can join up as a member and join our Discord and get yourself on the preview shows too. Link to the membership is always in the video description. But I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing good. Drop a like on the video if you haven't done so already, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. What we're going to do is we're going to drop in a poll a little bit later on into the chat box, so make sure you're prepared for that big question. Good morning to Matt G in the chat box, getting in there first. Rob, good morning to you. Adam, Peeny Ween, Stevie, Sartvik, Jonathan, Jose, Harvey, Clearaway Dave joining us as well. Rich, Carnu, Tony, Taj joining us as well. Pedro, Bobby. We've got Chris P in there. We've got, scrolling down a little bit more, I thought I saw someone saying it's their birthday and it's their first time joining in live. Deepak in the chat. Morning, guys. Finally get to watch Tom live and it's on my birthday. Welcome and happy birthday, mate. And if Chatbox, you could wish Deepak a happy birthday, I'm sure he would very much appreciate that. Let's scroll down a little bit more. We got Mark Wilson, we got Brad, we got Nimish, we got Alistair, we got Stephen, JDB. And top of the morning to you, Kat, as well. Hope you're having a fantastic day, people. And yeah, let's crack on with the stories. As always, please do go and subscribe to the Arsenal Way. We are less than 400 subs from hitting 10k subs over there in the space of just a single season. Amazing achievement from the whole team. So thank you so much for everyone that supported us over there. You can watch Mikel Arteta's press conference from yesterday on the channel, and also you'll be able to tune in with me on Monday morning at 9:30. But you'll have a predictor show with Chris and Guy, I think, on there this afternoon. So plenty of things to be excited about as well. Speaking of the Arsenal Way and any pieces that you can go and check out, I did a few yesterday for Football.London. One of them about Arsenal missing out on Savio, which we'll discuss a little bit more detail soon, and the impact that has on Edu and the kind of tactics that maybe we should consider to improve our record in the transfer market with these young talents. Another piece looking at how Arteta has already hinted at how he will approach the next three games based upon some of the previous fixtures he's had, and how it doesn't look like he's going to be rotating all that much. And a final piece talking about how Arsenal are approaching more young homegrown players. We obviously talked yesterday about Chukwuemeka, and we also talked about Michael Elise at Crystal Palace and Aston Villa, and how those two would represent more homegrown additions to the squad, just in case the Premier League or the FA decide to lower the quota. Now, massive congratulations to Gabriel Martinelli, who got his first senior call-up to the Brazilian national side. Gabriel Magalhaes as well getting called up, but this is Gabby's first senior call-up to the team, alongside two very good young wingers in Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr. as well. So big congratulations to him, and let's hope he smashes it and comes back safe and not very injured. This is another way of looking at it. Frustrating. But, you know, getting experience in the Brazilian national side is going to be huge for him. So I look forward to getting all the feedback from that. Now, Bruno Guimaraes, we haven't spoken about this guy in a while, but interestingly, he's been speaking to the media after his move to Newcastle and admitting that actually there wasn't anything really concrete on the table from anyone other than Newcastle, and that's why he chose Newcastle. In fact, his exact words were, "I did speak to some other clubs, but the only concrete offer came from Newcastle, and I really wanted to come here." I'm sure if you put a contract of that level on that table, a lot of people probably would as well. But I just find this a bit strange, considering the fact that, you know, he talked, well, not talked, but he used his announcement video to highlight all of the interest from Arsenal and then went to sign for Newcastle, which is a little bit of a backwards way to announce your signing. But then to come out and admit that there was no concrete offer on the table ever from Arsenal, you know, it's a little bit of a strange one. A little bit of a strange one indeed. Moving onwards to more positive things. Actually, not yet, because the Man City have beaten Arsenal to the signing of Savio, the Atletico Mineiro 17-year-old winger. He will join up with French side Troyes, who are part of the City football group, before going on loan to PSV. The expectation is and then go to Man City. Arsenal supposedly really did try and push to get this deal done and get in above Man City, but have ultimately ended up failing. And I wrote about this yesterday and about how Edu needs to approach the market a bit differently, and also about how we need to try and create some established relationships with other clubs to help ourselves in this type of deal so that we can offer routes to senior football without necessarily being at Arsenal, something that they need to consider a lot more. Let's go on to more interesting news. And we're speaking here about a player who I genuinely knew nothing about prior to hearing about the link, Arda Güler, who is a young Fenerbahce player. Now, the former head coach of Turkey, Erol Tokguzla, has been speaking. He spoke to CNN and said, "I don't think Arda will stay in Turkey too long. I know there are offers from Arsenal and Bayern Munich. With each passing match, the number of these teams will increase. 20 to 30 million euros for Arda will remain very ordinary." I was looking at this guy this morning. He's already at 17 years of age, breaking into the first team. In the under-19 Super League, he scored 4 goals in 8 games from an attacking midfield and right-wing position. Coming into the senior Fenerbahce team, though, he's played in Europe. He come on in the Conference League in 2 appearances, got 2 assists in the last final 20 minutes or so of those games against Slavia Prague, when Fenerbahce unfortunately went out. He's been playing in the Europa League qualifying. He came off the bench in those games as well at the start of the season. He's an interesting player and certainly one that's considered, highly rated and very talented. And Arsenal are said to have made an offer. However, what I would say is I would chill about that news. And if you remember, we talked about Janis Stoica, who was a player playing for FCSB in Romania. You may remember that link. And the president, I think it was Gigi Bacali, if I'm right in remembering, came out and spoke about how Arsenal had made an offer for Janis Stoica. Nothing came of that move. And I have a feeling that this is a little bit similar. Putting those big names down, Arsenal, Bayern Munich, getting that interest higher. We know these types of tactics. We know Arsenal being used very much so as a name to try and drive up prices. I mean, on Transfermarkt, he's rated at £675,000, not even breaking the £1 million mark yet. But I've not seen anything of him at all. I'm not going to judge him based on that. I'm going to judge him based upon what I do see when I do a little bit more watching of what he's like as a player. But he's played in attacking midfield, at right wing, left mid, centre mid. He's played in a number of positions for Fenerbahce and their youth team. So we'll wait and see what happens on this one, but I have a feeling that it's a little bit more talk than substance in this case. Moving on to our penultimate story, and now I know that I can come across sometimes a little bit told you so, but I mean, I'm going to take this opportunity just to say, Renato Sanches, I kind of told you so. I did. Now, Bailey, and I know you're probably watching this, mate, and I know you're not working today and you're off, but if you are tuning in, I just have to say that it was always going to happen. Renato Sanches, for those that don't know what I'm talking about, got injured last night for Lille, hamstring injury, another hamstring injury. It could keep him out for a significant period of time. We don't know the full extent of the injury at this point, but this proves and goes to show why I've been saying consistently I would not go for Renato Sanches, because the risk of injury is just far too high. It is so high that this guy gets repetitive injuries, and injuries that aren't just like an odd game, but will keep him out for a significant period. And he's got injured again. Matt, I'd love to sit here and say I'm not smug about someone getting injured, but there is a little part of me that is a little bit smug. I'm not going to lie, because I've been saying this non-stop. How many injuries, how many games have been missed by Renato Sanches is about to go up. I wouldn't sign him. I just wouldn't put down the 30 million plus that it would take to get him into the team. He's a very, very talented player, a very, very good player, and it's nothing to do with his quality. It is all to do with the risk of injury. And, I can't commit to putting that amount of money down on a player like Renato Sanches. Who I could be willing to put down a significant amount of money on is Villarreal's young attacking midfielder / wide player, Yeremy Pino. Really, really interesting Spanish player, currently playing for Unai Emery, as I said, at Villarreal. He's actually played against Arsenal before as well. I've written about him as a possible option if we were to say move on from Nicolas Pepe. But according to a report from El Desmac, who I'd never heard of as an outlet, just doing a quick little bit of research, they seem to be a Madrid-based outlet. But that might be wrong, but it says Madrid in big letters on the website, so I'm assuming that's the case. But Yeremy Pino apparently is interesting. A number of clubs, Real Madrid are one of the clubs that we've always been aware. He has an 80 million euro release clause in his contract, which is about 67-ish billion pounds, which is a lot. It was at 30 million euros last season when we played against Villarreal and got knocked out, of course, in the semi-finals. But what I do think is that if you can get him for a cheaper deal, and I wouldn't be going over 40 million, you've got the chance to get yourself one of the best young players on the continent right now. Someone who's going to be coming through the ranks, someone who's going to be very much impressing. And yeah, he's a great talent. I think he scored 4 against Espanyol in one game just not so long ago as well. And I think that doubled his tally for the season. In terms of how many goals he scored in the entire campaign. I think he scored 2 up until that game and then scored 4 in one. There's a lot to come from him at 19 years of age. Keep your eyes on him. Don't forget his name. He will be coming through and being quite an interesting profile to keep tabs on. Anyway, let's round off the news there, and that is our final story, which means we'll be coming to you guys in the chat box. So if you have anything that you'd like to discuss, throw those questions in and we'll be going through as many of them as feasibly possible. Okay, let's jump into the chat box and see what you guys are saying. Jonathan says, right-footed left winger, wouldn't Pedro Gonçalves be more attractive and cheaper? I love Pedro Gonçalves as well. Or it is a soft C. It's not a hard C, I'm pretty sure, in Portuguese. So Pedro Gonçalves, yeah. He's a player that came onto my radar when he was playing at Famalicão previously, and obviously moved to Sporting. But he's been around the block a bit, has Pedro. I mean, I think he was in the Wolves Academy and then went to Valencia and then has gone back to Portugal after coming through at Braga. So he's been well-travelled. He's got experience at a young age, which Mikel Arteta likes. I would certainly be looking at him as a possible option. But there are other options out there for Arsenal, and perhaps Yeremy Pino could be one of them. Joshua says, which right-back should Arsenal target this season? Much love from Germany. Thank you so much, mate. Hope you're doing good. Right-back targets this summer. In terms of right-backs, I'll tell you, I wouldn't go for Jed Spence as an option. Just not interested in going for him after the kind of the advice I've taken from those that have watched a considerable amount of what he's been able to offer at both Middlesbrough and Nottingham Forest. It's tough, isn't it? Because you got to sign someone who's going to give you that level of improvement. Mazraoui is always the one I go to, but I think he's going to be going off to Barcelona. The other one is, who's the other one that's completely slipped my mind? I've written about him. João Mario, who is a young Portuguese right back at Porto. Keep your eyes on him. He's an interesting player. And I mean, it would be quite apt for us to sign a backup Portuguese right back, considering we brought in Nuno Tavares on the left-hand side. Perhaps that's a route that we could go down. So keep your eyes on João Mario at Porto. He's a possible option as well. Manu saying Kalulu from Milan, maybe someone that we should be looking at. Would I sign Raheem Sterling, says Afsar? Yes, I would sign Raheem Sterling. I think that if you can get him for a reasonable price and he's willing to move on from Manchester City, he's not a player that I think you can easily say no to. I think he's getting into Manchester City's team. If you're thinking about a player that we need to be getting into Arsenal, we need to be signing players that get into the teams of those that are fighting for the title. And Raheem Sterling does that on a regular basis. So, yeah, absolutely, I would take Raheem Sterling. Raheel says, hello, Tom. Which Spurs or Newcastle player should you pick for the FPL double game week? I don't pick Spurs players because I'm an Arsenal fan, for starters. And that should just be a rule. Like, if you're playing fantasy football and you're picking Spurs players, I'm questioning your allegiances, people. Never, ever, ever pick a Spurs player. Newcastle, don't pick Joe Willock, because I decided to captain him for a double game week and it didn't go too well. Ryan Fraser, though, might be a decent shout because he's having a very, very decent spell of form, to be fair to him. this small period. Sterling would command a huge wage. He absolutely would. But, you've got to pay to get quality. And he certainly would provide us with that. Maximir says, wish to discuss this statement from Ralph Rangnick about the Russian involvement and singling out Arsenal and Everton. Isn't it hypocrisy when Man United was sponsored by Aeroflot, Russian government-owned air carrier? Yeah, look, I don't really understand why he's answered the question in that way, to be honest. I'm not going to go into loads of detail because at the end of the day, there are a lot more people that should be sanctioned alongside the Russian oligarchs as well. And there are a lot of atrocities going on in the world that aren't getting the same level of attention at all. But he shouldn't have put himself in that situation in the sense of answering that question, and why he has done just makes absolutely no sense. Makes absolutely no sense at all why you would do that, other than maybe to play a little bit of mind games. If it is that and you're using this situation for your advantage, how desperate are you getting? So anyway, it's not worth really covering any more than that. Mitchell says, go for Salah on a free. He won't sign a new deal. I doubt that it'll be Arsenal that he would pick to go to. In fact, I think he would probably move away from the Premier League if he was to leave Liverpool. Manu says, it's interesting how I've forgotten how Europe works, but how do you rate your back four, and do we have enough depth? Do we have enough depth in our back four? Tierney and Tavares, sure. Tomiyasu and Cedric, we need to improve on Cedric, in my opinion. White, Gabriel, Holding, and Saliba. If Holding leaves, then we need to replace. Marie's coming back, could leave. We've got Omar Rekic coming through. Daniel Ballard's future still needs to be resolved as well. I think we've got depth there, but it would depend on whether or not Rob Holding moves on. And we've got Ramsdale and Turner for next season as well. So, yeah, I think there is enough depth in left back and goalkeeper, and there's a little bit of work maybe to be done at right back and centre back in the summer. Reese says, surely Charlie Patino is the perfect number 8 to go alongside Odegaard. Yes, Reese. I was discussing this with Kaya Karnak yesterday, and someone in the chat box also asked, I don't know if it was you, Reese, that asked this question, and I do absolutely 100% agree. I think it's a position that Charlie Patino could flourish in, and it could really be the way in which he sees his route into the Arsenal first team next season. Let's wait and see. Perhaps he needs to go on loan first for a year before coming back. But that was always the impression I had from the club, was that he was looked at very much like Saka, not to be someone that would be sent on loan and instead brought straight through into the Arsenal senior setup. Hence why he started against Nottingham Forest. Let's scroll up to see if I've missed anything. Zana says, would you take Kevin Volland? No, I wouldn't personally. We should be looking at different profiles, younger profiles than Kevin Volland. Jose says, we've seen Arsenal will buy from the Premier League. Who do you think Arsenal should go for this summer? In terms of a Premier League option, it's a good question. In central midfield, I think that's the area that you'd be looking. Your Tielemans, your Neves, these types of players in those positions. That's who you're looking at. Depending on the allegations, Yves Bissouma again returns as a possible option too. So there are a fair few that you would look at. I don't think striker, though. Ollie Watkins, Calvert-Lewin, I think their stock has fallen. And I think we'll be looking abroad for our striker options in the summer, unless you can somehow get hold of some of the more high-profile strikers in the Premier League. But I doubt that would be possible. Scrolling down, Julian says, what's these Partey transfer rumours? Would you like to see him move? Personally, I wouldn't be too disappointed. I think that's harsh. I think that it would be absolutely catastrophic to lose Thomas Partey. I've not seen this, though. Let's have a quick Google and have a look. Juventus could be trying to disrupt the transfer plans of Arsenal again after reviving previous interest in Thomas Partey. Well, you can't have him, lads. He's under a long-term contract, and it's Juventus again trying to destabilise Arsenal. What a surprise. If we do get back into the Champions League, I do hope we get them in a group. It would be really quite enjoyable to beat them. It really, really would. Wilson says, why on earth is Bailey so obsessed with Renato Sanches? The guy's injury-prone, and Bailey needs to get over it. Oh, Bailey, I hope you're not watching for your sake. But hey, look, he likes the player, and I don't blame him for liking him. He's a fantastic talent, is Renato Sanches. But he is too injury prone, and I would not be going for him at all. Ismail says, bring in Gabriel Jesus and promote Amari Hutchinson next year. Sharif says, hi, Tom. Does Tomiyasu's injury concern you long-term, or is it just him still adjusting to the demands of the English football? Look, he's been injured before. It's not a new thing. It's not like the Thomas Partey situation. At Bologna, he missed games. He missed a series of games at Bologna in the last 2 seasons. So it's not a surprise, to be honest. And I don't think we should be too concerned at the moment. Telex says, good morning, Tom. Would you be happy if we made a move for Enesri from Sevilla as our new number 9? What are his negatives? Negatives are also fitness. He has struggled with an injury this season. And I mean, when he did suffer that injury and he's since come back into the Sevilla first team, he's still just on the 3 goals so far this season. Rafa Mir is obviously playing quite consistently for Sevilla as well and getting a fair few goals to him, to be fair. But he came back, he got an assist against Real Betis in their 2-1 win in the Seville derby, but has been kind of unable to get back into his flow. So he's kind of fallen away for me in terms of possible striker targets. I think we should probably be looking elsewhere. Maggie says, Tom, of all the strikers we're linked with, who do you think is the highest ceiling? Jonathan David probably has the highest ceiling of all of them, because whilst I think Patrick Schick is of a higher level, he's 26 now, the ceiling isn't going to be as high. Adeyemi is another possible target as well. Massively has a massive chance of being one of the best strikers in the world one day. So those two are definitely the ones to have the best and highest ceilings, that's for sure. Nishad says, given our ever so slightly shaky defense recently, I'll take a few 1-0s in the upcoming game. So Tom, we need a modern day version of your 1-0 Coquelin screamer predictions. Wow, that is a blast from the past. Those long time listeners to TGT will remember that we used to say a Coquelin 1-0 screamer. I think we're going to have to go over Thomas Partey, to be fair. Like, he's the one we need to pop out of a goal from outside the box. We need that in his game because he's really kind of struggled to get it. Joshua says, any news on Wilfried Singo? I've heard there's been whispers and rumours about Arsenal being interested. It strikes me very similar to that Tomiyasu deal, to be honest. 21 years of age, 3 goals, 4 assists off the top of my head. You know, he's getting on the goal contributions list. Plays at a right wing back position though for Torino instead of a right back role. Not sure if that makes it a little bit trickier to see him in the Arsenal first team. Has played in a back 4, but mainly plays in a back 5 for Torino. So I'm not sure whether or not that's one that will happen, but stylistically, positionally, he's very different to Tomiyasu. Maybe that's what Arteta wants, is a stylistically different type of player. We'll have to wait and see. Ibrahim says, how much do you think Milinkovic-Savic would cost? If we're going big on a number 8, surely he's the one. 50 million plus, maybe. Someone's finally got to get him out of Lazio, that's for sure. He needs a move. I always thought Real Madrid might come in for him, but they never did. Or they haven't yet, is maybe a better term. Manu says, Belgian media and people around the club are talking of very strong interest from AC Milan in Charles de Ketelaere. How did you handle the Szoboszlai heartbreak? You just deal with it, mate. You have a shirt with his name on the back as a memento, and that's it. That's how you deal with it, and you move on. But I don't think Arsenal are going for him, fella. So sorry, mate. JDB says, would I take James Ward-Prowse and Tielemans, or would it disrupt Patino's development? No, I have no problem with us bringing in 2 central midfielders. We spent £72 million on Nicolas Pepe, and look where Saka is now. So just because you spend a lot of money or you invest a lot in a certain position doesn't mean that if you're good enough, you can't yet break into a team. And hopefully we can see that with Patino as well. Why not? We need to be ruthless. We need to give ourselves the opportunity to bring in some top players. And I like James Ward-Prowse a lot, and I'd be very open to see him in at Arsenal next season. Telex says, what does Jonathan David do better than Nketiah? Oh, that is harsh. Clinical finishing, link-up play, versatility. I mean, just the way in which he fits at a higher level and performs at a higher level more consistently. European and international experience, leads the Canadian line fantastically well. Operates, as I've already said, at a senior level, which Nketiah has certainly differed with, can work with other players, can play in wide left, wide right, can play slightly behind the striker, play as a sole striker, has been shown at Lille and Canada to do that. Where do I go from here? Have I mentioned link-up play? I think so. Just better in every sense by quite a considerable amount, Telex, to be honest. Apology. I think that's really harsh of a question, to be fair. What about Origi? No, thank you. Alazar says, did you think about Maddison as an 8 in the Erdegaard 4-3-3? Maybe, but I do think of him more as a 10, Maddison. That's the problem with him. Jean says, not going for Renato Sanches due to the risk of injuries feels strange when, without a doubt, I would take Haaland. He has also missed a lot of games due to injuries when he was at Mulder, when he was at Mulder. I think there's a difference. The difference is that Erling Haaland is arguably one of the next 2, in terms of him and Kylian Mbappe, best players on earth for the next 10 years. And when that happens, you can put injuries aside. Lionel Messi suffered with injuries too. and Haaland will get over this and he'll play a consistent stretch. Yes, he suffers with these problems, but there's a difference between arguably the best young player in the world and then going for Renato Sanches. There is a different jump, I think, between the two. Maximius says, our under-23s team defeating Spurs last night to an victory against Spurs is always heartwarming, plus a great goal line save. Absolutely. Was it? I thought it was the other day, unless I'm getting confused with the under-18s. Let me have a quick check, because that completely slipped by. I took yesterday evening off after I got off the thing. Yeah, I'm sure it was the other day, the under-18s, was it not? Rather than the 23s? I might be wrong, but I thought, because we played Middlesbrough and we lost in the cup. But other than that, I thought it was the under-18s that were playing Spurs. But I might be wrong. You'll be able to tell me if I'm wrong. Vengaboy says, I have to be honest, I don't understand all these hypes about Tielemans. He's good, no doubt, but I prefer Ruben Neves. No way better. I like Tielemans for what he does going forwards a lot more, and I think he would suit the number 8 position better than Ruben Neves would. I also don't think his season this year is reflective of his overall quality, as I have mentioned a number of times. Wilson says, which 2 midfielders should Arsenal be signing? There's loads, Wilson. We talk about this all the time, like Tielemans, Neves, Fabian Ruiz, Tyler Adams, Florian Neuhaus, Camara I like a lot at Red Bull Salzburg. But there is loads of players that Arsenal could sign. But arguably, we could move for an even more kind of attack-minded player to play alongside Ødegaard, like Bernardo Silva does for Manchester City with Kevin De Bruyne. Anyway, we're going to wrap things up there. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in, as always. It's always an absolute pleasure to join you. I'll be back this afternoon. I'll be back at 5 o'clock with the members from the Discord server to look ahead to tomorrow's game against Leicester. So set your alarm clocks for that. Thank you so much for joining me. Drop a like on the video if you haven't done so already, and subscribe to the channel if you are indeed new around here as well. There will be a show on the Arsenal way today, I'm sure. No 9:30 show because it's the weekend, but other than that, enjoy your Saturday. Let's hope for a draw later on this afternoon. Would be much more appreciated. But other than that, I'll see you soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.